Alright, so now that we know how the index function works and how the match function works, it's time to combine these two together. And the biggest benefit of combining these two functions is to mimic the VLOOKUP function without your lookup value being in the leftmost column. So similar to our example when we use the VLOOKUP function, we are going to combine the index and match to look up an ID number and return the name, score, and grade associated to that ID number. So let's click in the cell next to name and start building our formula. So we need to start with the equal sign, and the first function that we are going to use is the index function. Now the first argument within the index function is the array, and the array is the entire table. So when you see index, just think of selecting your entire table. I'm going to make this range an absolute reference by clicking F4 on my keyboard, and then comma to move on to our next argument. So now our index function is asking for the row number. Well, we're not actually going to know which row number that the ID that we're searching for is going to be in. So this is where we can include the match function. Because remember, the match function returns a numeric position, and the index function uses those numeric positions to return a value. So for our first argument in our match function, we need to select the lookup value, which is the ID cell. Then let's make this an absolute reference because this lookup value is going to remain constant. Then put a comma. Now the second argument for the match function is the lookup array. And remember, for the match function, the lookup array can only be a single column or a single row. So we want to tell this function to look for the ID number within the ID column. And then we can also make this an absolute reference. Then insert a comma, and for the match type, we want an exact match, so we can put in a 0. So that's the end of the match function. So we can put in close parentheses, and now we're back in the index function. And it's asking for the column number that our value is in that we want returned. So since we are trying to return the name associated to this ID number, we can put 2, because the name column is the second column within our table. And then we can put close parentheses. And if we click enter, and then search for an ID number, we can select 119, and our formula return Jack, because in our list, Jack is associated to 119. So now let's copy this formula down to retrieve the score and grade for this ID number. So if we click our cell that contains our formula, drag down our fill handle, what we need to do now is go into these formulas and change the column number. So for score, we need to change the column number of 2 to a 3. And then for grade, we need to change it to a 4, because the grade column is the 4th column in our table. Click enter. So now we're able to see that for the ID number of 119, the student's name is Jack, he scored a 95 and received an A. And if we change this ID number, the formulas will update. So like I said before, the reason to use the index and match functions combined, because it overcomes the limitation of the VLOOKUP function that requires our lookup value to be in the leftmost column. And this is just the beginning of the potential of the index and match function. In the next video, I will show you how we can edit this formula and show how we can make this formula more dynamic so we don't have to come into each cell and change the column number.